What's up? One of the most infamous builds in Nightreign is triple status effect Executor, where with the help of certain relics you can deal bleed, poison and frost at the same time with one weapon. Let's give it a try. Executor's katana is the only standard weapon that has any built-in status effect, and it's obviously bleed. Knight of the Wise is what gives us poison infusion and has a pleasant side effect of increasing attack power after a poison proc. Knight of the Miasma changes our unsheathed weapon skill to Chilly Mist. It's where the frostbite comes from. The relic also has a side effect of making us deal more damage to frostbitten enemies, somewhat similar to what Knight of the Wise has with poison. Honestly, it's this small effect that makes me prefer the regular version over the new one. However, Dark Knight of the Miasma has its own practical uses, and I'll make a video about it too. Lastly, I've pulled out the improved katana attack power, and yes, it is worse in numbers than the Avid Gel relic, and you are free to judge me for not using it. Thing is, I sometimes get a bit tired of the gel relic being in every single build, and rushing gels all the time becomes not that fun after a while. It is necessary if you're looking for pure optimization though. Current build means I'm gonna stick to my starting katana for the entire game, so one of the main objectives is to upgrade it to level 3, the sooner the better. Alternative strat is to summon Crater and make it legendary, but that's not the case in this run. The closest location to my spawn is a Fire Great Church, so I'll start with it. From there I'll do a jail if I find a key. Upgrading my weapon is important, but level still matters. And jails are still useful even without the designated relic. They are good for providing you with fast runes for a quick level up at the start, or some random perk in the worst case. What to keep in mind with this build is that using the Suncatcher, your deflecting ability, counts as swapping weapons and thus removes the Chilly Mist infusion from the katana. It makes sense to proc Frostbite first, then get to deflecting. Honestly, the balance of deflecting and dodging as Executor is a really complex topic in my opinion, and it is something I'm still discovering myself. I know there are people who completely ignore the deflecting mechanic and roll all the time, then there's people who simply refuse to dodge and parry everything, but that requires an unholy amount of skill. It also matters what build you're running, because like I just said, if you're using Chilly Mist or say Seppuku, you can pull out the Suncatcher or it will disable your infusion. On the other hand, if you're doing a crit build, you're interested in stance breaks and would probably prefer deflecting instead of rolling. On paper, deflecting will always be more beneficial due to stance damage it deals, but it is as good as it is risky. It really is easy to mess up and lose the fight in the blink of an eye. I have a crazy amount of respect for super skilled executors, and strive to be among them one day as well. From here, my plan was to clear the field boss at the river, then smoothly go into a mine, but the circle had other plans for me. I still have time for the boss though, but the weapon upgrade seems to get delayed, cause I'll have to grab the smithing stone from the top mine now. It probably made sense to instead ignore the boss and go into a mine, but what can I say? I love fighting bosses more than I love running around. Now I really need to start moving into the circle. Its position is not amazing. I'll probably just find myself another field boss to fight. If the middle castle has either Crucible or Banished Knights, I can try to clear its front doors while the circle is not fully closed. Crucible Knights are another enemy strong against status effects and completely immune to bleed. Good thing is they are rather easy to deflect, and if you perfect your timings, it's completely possible to take on them on any level. Looking again at the footage, I think I should have used card counters more often. And also they seem to take little to no damage from critical hits, so I would guess using the Suncatcher's charged L2 after a stance break would have dealt more damage. It was also possible to upgrade my katana to blue rarity right here at the castle. This is where I should have been more attentive. I blame that Crucible Knight. At this point some heavy thinking and guessing was done. Considering the position of the circle, it can end up either here or here. Both places are relatively close to the mines and it will be easy to start day 2 from going there, and generally clearing the top side of the map. So I made the decision to postpone the weapon upgrade to day 2 altogether and instead go to something in the opposite side of the available zone. With Executor, I usually feel much more confident to take on harder bosses earlier, thanks to deflecting ability and a beast form. The ult is a free health recharge and about 15 seconds of near immortality and huge DPS. It's one of my favorite abilities in the whole game. And the entire purpose of the triple status effect build is to reliably make things easier thanks to how effective and almost cheesy it is. I'm gonna be honest, these rewards are garbage. The only barely relevant thing I can get from here is the reduced skill FP cost. Executor's FP bar is far from largest, and in a build where I rely a lot on the weapon skill, I may potentially run into a situation where I don't have enough FP for it. Anyways, I'm probably gonna drop it at the first chance I get. Freja in Nightreign for some reason is 10 times more annoying than in DS2. Not only she takes damage exclusively to the head, to me it also feels like the hitbox of the head became much smaller. As I've said, at the start of day 2 I'm gonna go straight for a Smith and Stone 2. From there it will be a good time to clear the top side of the map as much as I can, and then rotate to the middle castle. I obviously was curious about who's inside the jail and got hit with a truck. I tried doing them for a bit, but at that time I already got so annoyed that I haven't upgraded my katana yet, I just decided to leave them and maybe come back later. Gutskin Duo is doable, but I really don't want to delay the upgrade any longer. Now I'm free to choose in which camp to find a merchant. I'm not sure whether it was better to visit top left camp, then go try luck with another jail, then move down to those red bosses. Or to go to the right camp, then retry the Gutskin Duo and then run left to the red bosses. I ended up taking the first route and it was fine. If I were to make this decision now, I probably would have chosen to go back right, but what's done is done, and I don't really think there was too much of a difference. At the merchants I found a shield with multiple periodical Glimblade. It's obviously a great passive, but what made me hesitate for a second is that now it will be a bit less convenient to use Chilling Mist. I almost always one-hand my katana for lighter attacks to build up status effects faster, but one-handing the weapon with the shield in the left hand makes the weapon skill priority go to the shield, meaning I'll have to two-hand the katana each time I want to use Chilling Mist. This circle is something else, man. 3 out of 3 remaining red bosses are cut off at the very edge of the new save zone. I remember that the boss down this river is Blackblade Kindred, who is completely immune to all status effects. So I decided to skip it altogether, even though potentially I had time to fight it. After killing the pink boss, the plan is to go spend the rest of the day at the middle castle. My level is slightly lacking, so all the Crucible Knights there will do a good job of making sure I hit level 15. Rivers of Blood and Eleanor's Pole Blade are kinda two sides of the same coin. While Rivers are probably somewhat better because it's a katana, I've been getting it in all the previous runs. So I decided to mix things up for a bit. Also, Eleanor's has a much more interesting passive than Rivers. None of them will synergize all too well with my primary katana because they both deal fire damage which instantly resets Frostbite, but hey, I can play with it for a bit. I guess all you need to do for the game to drown you with good weapon drops is to make a build revolving around your stunning weapon. Obviously, grab the Moonveil, it will make sense to switch to it after the poison and frostbite procs in the fight. Now I'm just gonna fight Crucible Knights until the end of day 2, because I really need runes. I don't know how much time is left, probably not that much, and killing the Knights is much more consistent and will likely get me more runes than the boss on the roof. The plan for Adel is to drown him in status effects with my default katana, and maybe occasionally switch to Moonveil when poison and frostbite are on. It's a shame that enhanced Adel doesn't suffer from poison much like the default one does, but it still gets the job done. build so good I accidentally no-hit the final boss of the expedition. I hope you enjoyed this run, please like, subscribe and write a comment, all these things help me out a lot. GG and thank you for watching.